The HoneyDew with Ryan Sickler.
Welcome back to the HoneyDew, y'all. We're over here doing it in the Night Pants Studios. I am Ryan Sickler, ryansickler.com, Ryan Sickler on all your social media. And again, every week, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here every week. All right. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, y'all. Hit it. Just hit it. You're watching, hit the damn thing. It's a free way to help the show, I promise you. And if you got to have more, then you got to check out the Patreon. I'm keeping it at $5. Since day one, it's been $5. It's going to stay $5. If you sign up for a year, you get a month free. And it's the HoneyDew with y'all. I'm highlighting the lowlights with y'all, and y'all have the wildest fucking stories anyone's ever goddamn heard. All right. If you or someone you know has a story that has to be heard, please submit it to honeydewpodcast@gmail.com. Hopefully we get to do an episode together. All right. And if you are a big fan of the HoneyDew, then you're going to love my old podcast, The Crab Feast. All the same guests that you love out there on the podcast world with different stories. So if you're all caught up on the Dew and you're like, I'm looking for a new podcast, Feasters will tell you. They got fan pages all on social media. They'll let you know. They'll let you in. They'll love you, all right? Fuck the Crab Feast, 5 stars. All right, that is the business. You know what we do over here. We highlight the lowlights. These are the stories behind the storytellers, all right? Very excited to have this guest on. First time here on the HoneyDew. Been wanting to get him here for a while, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Drew Lynch. Welcome to the HoneyDew, Drew.
Thank you, Ryan. I could listen to you give the business for so much longer than that.
I appreciate you saying that.
It was so like not one like sputter or nothing even like just so like I thought that I looked over a few times. I was like, is there a script? There's not. You're just knowing it. That was good.
Can I tell you something? First of all, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't often do that. I'm
really?
not even gonna lie. As I was hitting it, I was like, man, this feels good. I haven't fucked up yet. I haven't fucked up yet. I fuck up a lot. I'll say something dumb. And I'm like, try to put. I felt good. Thank you.
It was good.
Appreciate it. You made me feel comfortable here.
Good.
Well, before we begin getting into your story, will you please plug, promote everything and anything you like?
Thank you, Ryan. First of all, I love that you just make it all about the comics up front and at the end.
Yes,
That's
sir.
such a nice thing, man. I'm taping in San Jose the 20th and the 21st at San Jose Improv, and then I've got Austin, Texas, the week after that. And those that's all I'm going to plug, but the taping
and that's
to me
your
is
special, your upcoming special taping.
Yeah.
Hell yeah! All right.
Yeah. So
social media.
It's just the Drew Lynch everywhere. Drew Lynch was taken when I wanted to get it. I know it sounds. I don't want that to sound more pretentious than it is. It was just like I'll just do the Drew Lynch. Some people might think it's. I don't need anybody pronouncing it the. It is just do the Drew Lynch. I know sometimes people could say the. I've never had a the vibe, so let's keep it at the Drew Lynch everywhere.
Well, let's get to know the Drew Lynch. I really don't know you that well.
Yeah.
You're a person I've been wanting to get on the show. We get a lot of requests for you, and I had DM'd you. I mean, look, I don't even see my DMs. People got DM'd you. I'm like, sorry, I don't see them either. But I figured out what the hell I'd try. I don't want to creep on you. And then we were on a show the other night together. I'm like, this is where I'm going to get his ass.
I'm so glad too, because I don't check a lot of my socials because I don't know. It's like a whole mental thing. You know, if you spend too much time, that you get trapped and your day's gone, and then sometimes. I don't know. Sometimes you get negative DMs, so that's my bad for not being able to follow up. But
please,
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from originally? You know what? Will you do me a favor and sit up a little bit more?
I'm
pull
sorry.
that mic up to you. No, pull the mic up to you because I don't want people yelling at you because they can't hear you. These are the best mics in the world if you're right on this fucking spot right here.
Yeah, that's my dad. You really are a dad. You're like, once you sit up, oh yeah, no, he's right. That's on me.
Gently.
Yeah,
I tried to say it gently.
I'm from.
Where are you from?
I'm from Indianapolis, in Indiana originally. We were talking about your poster in the studio over there. Helium's such a good club, and
it's a great club.
And I lived there until I was about 8 or 9, and then my family moved out to Vegas. We all moved out to. My parents wanted to. They were starting an air conditioning company with my mom's dad, and so he needed help, and so I moved out to Vegas and lived there for about 10 years. So I guess I kind of split my time.
Now, outside of the Strip and everything,
Yeah.
or really close and
No, outside of the Strip.
Okay.
Most everybody's pretty much outside the Strip. The Strip's, it's chaos and it's not necessarily a good area. So, but yeah, I lived kind of like just before Summerlin, just before all the rich houses, like right there. Like I could see all the nice houses. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's where we live too. I'm looking at all the nice shit.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Maryland.
Maryland?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Baltimore
That's right.
originally,
That's
yeah.
right. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
why the whole
all the
Colts
Ravens and stuff.
thing,
Yeah. That's cool, man.
All right, so your parents were still married and
Yeah.
moved out there. Are they still together?
Yeah, they are.
Wow, all right.
I'm finding that that's just becoming rarer and rarer.
It really
anytime,
is.
your parents?
No, God. I mean, they were divorced. My dad's dead, and they were divorced before that. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Tell me, do you have siblings?
Yeah, so I have a brother and a sister, and then and I have 2 sisters. One is adopted, but I don't know why I always say it that way. I have a brother and 2 sisters. So yeah, and I'm the oldest. And
how old are you now?
31.
All right, you're still a baby a little bit. I mean, you still
I
get
got a
carded?
set up. No,
with the beard.
not recently. Yeah,
If you shave that beard, bro, I'm not letting you in my bar.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what your ID says. I'm like, nah, we're not getting shut down. We're fresh out of a pandemic, bro.
I did, yeah. This is a pandemic, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did headshots like recently because you have to do them like once every however long, and I did them recently, and I hate shaving for it because I just look so young. I mean, it looks like photoshopped and everything, and I just look. I hate it. I prefer the beard, whatever.
Yeah, you look good, bro.
Thank you.
So can we talk about your injury?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the thing. I didn't know this was an injury. So no offense, I didn't dive into your past.
That's okay.
I mean, before this,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, just, seeing you and your clips and stuff. And I thought that you were born or developed early on a speech impediment, a stutter, and that you had this thing your whole life. And I come to find out that this is an injury. And then I'm starting to think like, whoa, holy shit. So at some point, it dawns on you this is never going away. At some point, you have to learn a new pattern. I'm assuming you probably know letters that maybe you're better at or more. So I have a million fucking questions. First of all, walk us through that day. What happened?
Sure. Yeah. So, oh man, it always is hard to like. I feel like sometimes you do press on the road and stuff, and they'll ask you about it, and you give like some abridged version. But what I really can appreciate about like the tone of the tone of your vibe and the tone of this show is like that you get to like remember and relive a lot of those details. Like things that I don't ever really go through the emotional sort of. Remembering or the emotional sort of impact that time had on me because I've been so familiar with it for however long and told it for so long. But it was 11 years ago, and I was working at a comedy club. I was working at Flappers in Burbank. I was the door guy there. Never to do stand up. Like I never wanted to do it, and
Did you think you could even then?
I tried, but I bombed real good.
Enough to be like never fucking mind
again.
for
Yeah,
me.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is like it was the perfect night job for me because I could have my days free to do acting stuff. So I moved out here to be an actor. I went to performing arts middle school, performing arts high school, and I really kind of loved that whole world. So public speaking was never a thing. Being in front of crowds was never a thing for me. So they had a pickup softball game there, and every week I went. And then this was like a year after I lived here. I already had representation acting wise with pretty reputable agency and a good manager, and I had some appointments lined up, some callbacks for those appointments. I look young now. I mean, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, I looked even younger, obviously. So I was booking like a lot of stuff for for Disney, and I had some stuff lined up for like Mad Men and some Nickelodeon stuff, and How I Met Your Mother, like some guest, and some stuff for me that like I was so excited about the momentum of that, and then just being around stand-up, being such a fan of like what it is that stand-ups do, and like it just kind of felt like next to it, just being like, oh, I'm in it, and stand-up and is still in the same arena as like acting and performing. And so I played baseball growing up, and I played. So I elected to play shortstop, and that one of the days I remember it was like a Sunday, and that following week I had a bunch of I had like casting director meetings and just a bunch of. I just remember that week I was like on cloud 9 because I just felt so. I don't know. It never happens that quick in people's in this industry, and for me, it might not have. But at the same time, it still felt like I was really making a lot of momentum and building it. So that Sunday, it was just a grounder. It was just a ground ball that got hit my way. And sometimes you play softball, and sometimes these guys like they come up and smack the shit out of it. You know what I mean? Like we played like the Burbank. That game I think was the Burbank Fire Department, and so and it's co-ed. So that
I've
we
played
got
the Burbank Fire Department.
Okay, so then
in a rec league before.
Yeah, really.
And those
so,
guys, I watched one of them. They ran over a lady at the plate. I'm not kidding you. I know exactly. And they told us too. We played basketball against them too. They told us they're going to foul the fuck out of you. And they said, I swear on God. Okay. I played in a rec basketball league too. Swear on God.
Yeah.
They said it. If you call fouls on them, they'll fucking ticket you on the way home and shit. They'll follow you and ticket you. And these refs were letting them slaughter us. And you can't do anything back. You can't punch a cop on the court.
Yeah,
that
way.
ain't a regular dude.
Yeah, they're brutal, man.
Damn,
so we
dude.
played. So yeah, and we're like, it's like a
So you're
co-ed
on the
league.
Flappers team.
I'm on the Flappers team. None of us know what the fuck. None of us know what the fuck we're doing. And it so it popped up. It just took a weird hop. Like I've got good hand-eye coordination, or maybe I used to, or maybe I thought I did. But I thought like it popped up, it hit me, and I fell back and went on the ground. So I literally. And I later recently found out that due to CTE brain scan and all that shit, my brain in my head went back and then forward.
It physically shook.
So I had like bruising, like a traumatic brain injury on my brain from that. And the whole time, the diagnosis that they gave me was a minor vocal contusion with a major concussion. People a million times said that to me. You have a minor vocal contusion with a major concussion, because that day I was scheduled to go to work after the game, and after that play, I don't remember any of the events that day. I only remember what people have told me about the events that night, and then the following morning. So that night, apparently, I had gone to back to the club to do my shift.
What?
And then I'd gone back to the club to do this. But they.
You do own Flappers now, right?
Yeah, I have it.
You
Got
fucking
shakes.
better
Yeah,
up.
I've made no money from it.
Oh, come on.
No. So I
So you don't even remember this, but you went back to work. They released
went back
you?
to work. Yeah. So
Did you go to
they
the
released me.
You went to the hospital?
Not from there. Not from there. So I went back to work. They were like, "Hey, you're kind of out of it." Went back home.
Someone had told you. They noticed that you were that enough.
Yeah, they were like, I just think you just need to like sleep it off. And then
The worst thing.
Yeah. And then so I went home, went to sleep, and I woke up, and I just remember my roommate was like crying. I remember he was like crying at the sink, and I couldn't really remember much else from that day, but I remember later that day I was in the hospital. My parents, they were still in Vegas at the time. They're back in Indiana now, but they were in Vegas at the time. They flew and saw me that night in the hospital, and I remember I don't even remember the amount of doctors that came through to see me, but it was like, all right, we're flying somebody else in from Vegas. Vegas has a good they have a good unit. I can't remember what the college is that's in Vegas, but it's like
UNLV.
Yes, yeah, UNLV. That's right. UNLV had somebody that they flew in, and then they had like a ear, nose, and throat, and then they had like a pathologist come see me and a neurologist come see me. And basically, when they ran all the scans and did all the tests, they were like, "Listen, this is what it is. But it's something that should my speech used to be much worse, and they were like, it should come back in a short time. They were like, it should come back in about a month, which is such a weird number. So in that time, I remember writing down a lot of the feelings that I was having, never to really talk about it on stage, but just like, hey, this is crazy, like stuff that's happening to me. I remember writing down a lot of the stuff in the few days that I was in the hospital on a napkin, and just to kind of try to process what was happening, because you really, like, I was like, this is at that. I remember when I was starting to feel like myself again, I was like, this is crazy. I don't think this will ever manifest. I don't think it'll manifest itself or manufacture itself into something worse. And of course, famous last thoughts, I guess. So yeah, it was just kind of like
So at that point, you're still speaking normally and stuff.
No.
Okay,
the next morning I woke up, everything was
that day. The rest of that day, yes, but the next morning,
the rest of that
changed.
day, the rest of the day, my speech is fine, but apparently my thoughts are just
all over.
Not. But the next day is when my speech, I can't even recreate it, but it used to be like I had a vocal issue, and just the connectivity from my thoughts to my mouth was not working, and I wasn't even able to like do this.
Really?
My motor skills were all
Did
fucked.
it hurt? Was it painful?
No. Nothing was painful. Nothing was painful. I just remember getting so tired. Like even the weeks after, I mean, for years, I was just so tired.
So the stutter then is not from the ball striking the chords, it's from the violent brain shake.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So this really was just a contusion that
and I thought it was for a really long time, but it was like, no, you need to learn how to speak properly with your vocal cords moving together again, because once you have this idea that once you are hurt and you have this idea that you're hurt, and your vocal cords are, if not, you have this in your brain that's like, oh, this just doesn't work. And it's like, speech therapy is so good at like being like, no, you have to constantly remind yourself, this can work, this can come back. You have to just relearn the mechanics of that.
Listen, I'm over here, I boo-hoo about it all the time, but this, I've had no smell. Well, not no smell. For 2 years, I've lost my smell because of COVID, December 2020. And I maybe have 10% of it back. But the things don't smell like a cigarette. I know what a cigarette smells like now. It does not. The tons of weed that I smoke that you saw me smoking that goes right under my nose, can't smell it.
Wow.
Can't smell if our bathroom stinks, trash, like things like that. And then I think about things like this, like, they say, you think about your own problems, and if we all were to throw them in a circle, we take our own shit back.
Yeah.
Right? So you immediately start.
I would trade you, though.
You would trade me?
No,
Would you?
Just kidding.
Yeah, you would. Would you, though? Think about that.
No.
Listen, what you've been able to do with this, like how you've been able to overcome. Would you?
Well, there's a thing. Hang on. So I feel like I can get into this with you.
Please.
Because, well, first of all, is this too heavy already?
No, hell no.
Okay, because I don't know. I don't know.
I mean,
I
no
feel
offense.
self-conscious, but yeah.
You shouldn't. We've had people come on this show and talk about rape, talk about physical abuse from their parents.
Well, I'll get into all that too.
Well, then maybe it is.
Damn, you couldn't pick up on that, Ryan? You couldn't smell my rape story coming? All right, sorry, no jokes about rape. But so I have a I would say tumultuous relationship with my speech because of the amount of ridicule and social sort of dissonance that I felt, and how I was distanced and sort of felt kind of isolated because of it. And early on, not at all really thinking this was going to be my trajectory, feeling very much like woe is me and embellishing
like
a
this actually
victim.
just ruined everything.
Yeah, like
for
exactly
you. Sure.
a victim mindset. Not, and you know, everything happens to everything happens to everyone. So feeling like you can only be sad about it can only get you so far, and you can only do it for so long. Which, by the way, I think it is healthy to be like, listen, this sucks, and I'm in a shitty spot right now. Address it, and then you got to do what you
100%.
can to get out of it, or embrace it, and you know, you can try to get out of your situation for so long before you're like, all right, I have a lot to learn from this. I'm going to use it to what I can to still let my light shine, or let me express myself despite my circumstances. And you know, when I first started, I revisited all those notes that I wrote down on the napkin. You know, trying to go on stage with. I had gotten a lot of encouragement from comics who were over at Flappers, who were like, "Listen, you got to use what happened to you. Talk about it. And so the first time I went on stage, it wasn't like good jokes, I wouldn't say. It wasn't like, like it's never like whatever. And that's the first time I went on stage post-injury. Prior to injury, I went on stage 2 times. I bombed so hard, and I was like, all right, well, it's not for me, and that's fine. I can still admire other comics and doing it, and I'll still be within my acting pursuits. And so when that happened, I got so much overwhelming support from comics at the mic. Like, yes, there's some audience, but mostly it was just comics. And it really felt good to feel like, okay, these are a group of misfits that have their own eclectic, I would say, it's a group of people who have their own failures or loss or pain or whatever that they're using. Some maybe not, but a lot of them, that's what they're doing it for. And so it did kind of feel good to feel accepted by comics, even though every single person that continued to walk through the door when I was working at Flappers, because I still worked there afterwards, I had to check people in. I had to take their information. People would look at me like, is this a bit? People would look at me like, I'm not giving, like, this is taking too long. I just want to go to the fucking show. And but I remember my boss at the time, she was so like, you got to get everybody's information. You got to do this. And like, so and sometimes feeling like that line starting to line up. I actually think I helped Flappers' business, to be honest. When people see a line, people are like, what's going on tonight? And
Did you sue them for all it's worth? No. Then you definitely helped their business. Okay. If you didn't sue those motherfuckers, you helped their business immensely.
No, they were, I always did wonder if they ever didn't let me go because I don't know.
Did they pay your medical bills?
No, but it wasn't on company property. And here's the thing, like, it was a bill, man. And
I'm sure it was a bill.
I didn't make money doing stand up until like 4 years after that. And so I was just doing a night job working there, and I was happy to have stage time, but all those bills, I was just like, I'll worry about that later. But anyway, so I did the mic, and I felt like, oh man, like I felt just like I could express my light's not out. You know what I mean? Like I'm not sunk yet. I haven't drowned. So it felt, and being and performing in any avenue in any way, I think is like a really, really cool thing, at least for me. And I think a necessary thing for a lot of comics. And that happened. And so in a way, it really taught me that it taught me a few things. One, that I could have support from people who I didn't know that I could get support from. And 2, it taught me that being vulnerable is a good thing. And then 3, it taught me word economy and brevity. And when your speech is so slow, you really have to save the very last few words to change the whole context of the joke. And so I wrote every single day so much, and just trying to cut and edit, and editing is my favorite part of stand-up, probably because of that. And even we're talking about your special where we're just you're like, oh, I want to pull this and I want to use this part. I know that this bit has a place in my hour, but I know I'm going to move it somewhere in the center. And I know, and even doing that on a more micro scale where you can do that with jokes, like truly, if I don't advocate for myself well, but I think I am a good editor, and that's my skill set. Like, I just think when it comes to, writing, fine, performing, okay. But when it comes to editing, that's when I think I really, really shine. And I think that's because I attribute that to my injury.
All right. I have 3 questions I'm dying to ask, and I'm going to say them so I don't forget them.
Okay.
One, I want to talk about when you had to mentally accept, okay, this shit's not going away, and this is not only my profession, but how I need to communicate on a day-to-day.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about writing, specifically in stand-up.
Yeah.
I know that speaking just casually, whatever, off the cuff is, it is what it is. But if you're writing stand-up and you can rehearse it in your mind, can you do a set without stuttering?
Yeah, I mean, if I rehearse, I've gotten so much better at it now. I've just gotten so much more confident. It's like,
so if you know what you're going to say again and again and again.
And sometimes I feel like, you're talking about those things where you say little words and letters that I know that I have these triggers. People who stutter, we all do this, in that we're always thinking ahead to things that we get stuck on. So like, that's where
you're
a lot of the
thinking
social
ahead of what I don't want to say, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
You're circumventing all the time, and that's hard. I think that contributes a lot to this vicious cycle, because you get so much anxiety, not from just the stutter, but it's also because I can't sometimes be fully in this conversation with you.
I hear you on that.
And you miss human connection. You miss human connection because you're literally directing your life all the time. And sorry, I know I'm getting like emotional, but it's something that like I have so much anxiety all the time, because I'm thinking all the time about the way that I say things, and not necessarily just what I want to say. And I envy people who, like, you sometimes you can just see people, they're all exterior. Their heart is just everywhere. And they say something and it's imperfect, and somehow it's still so awesome because that's just who they are. For me, I'm constant. Now, I think that is also why it's such a strength of mine, is because I'm constantly doing it. I'm constantly in my head about the way something goes or how it goes a different way. And what I was gonna say, because I want to answer your questions, but what I was gonna say is that's why my relationship with my speech has been so tumultuous, because I used it initially to make self-deprecating jokes to really heal, and then because I've gotten so much progress over my speech, and then I had success with my speech, people now criticize the legitimacy of it, and if it's an act, or if I put it's on my whole for. I get it now. I did America's Got Talent almost 8 years ago, and my speech was way different then than it is now. And consistently,
you've worked on it, right?
I've worked on it. No one sees my medical bills. No one sees the amount of medical professionals. Even you and I talking before
also,
the
nobody
thing.
Knows
like
that whole season for Flappers, that was the only error you made, man. You were a fucking Gold Glove out there at shortstop. That was the lone error, man.
A Gold Glove.
Burbank Police Department and Fire Department would have been loved to have you out there at short, bro. Was it against the Burbank Police Department?
It was
too?
it was fire department.
Man, everybody owes you money, bro.
Everybody.
The Burbank Fire Department.
I own
Flappers,
Burbank.
That Parks and Rec.
I own Burbank, man.
Shit, man. You
It's
should
not
own Burbank.
I know. I wanted Glendale, but Burbank will be fine.
The new year is here, and there's no better way to kick off 2023 than by making sure you're feeling like your best self. Liquid IV is the category-winning hydration brand fueling your well-being, and their hydration multiplier is the one product you're missing in your daily routine. Tangerine's my favorite flavor. Just going to tell you that right off the top. Keep them here at the studio. At this point now, I just keep a bottle in the car, drop that liquid IV in it, take a bottle to the gym, there's liquid IV in it. Wherever that water is, there's liquid IV in it. 1 stick of liquid IV and 16 ounces of water hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. It contains 5 essential vitamins, B3, B5, B6, B12, and vitamin C. With 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks, it's made with premium ingredients. There's non-GMO, and it's free from gluten, dairy, and soy. Grab your Liquid IV in bulk nationwide at Costco, or you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code HoneyDew at checkout. That's 20% off of anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code HoneyDew at liquidiv.com. Now, let's get back to the do.
So anyway, what are your yes? Tell me what are the other questions?
Another question I do have before I ask you about
we keep just bringing more questions from each other.
I can't help it. I want to fucking write these down. Do you have a stutter when you talk to yourself? When you dream?
No. Usually when I'm around people that I get really, really comfortable with, and I'm comfortable with myself, I don't. And it's getting, like I said, like
your inner monologue is not.
No, I hear it. It is truly. When it starts to happen, then you're like, don't do that. And then, but that break has gotten, I think of it as like a break, like an actual pedal. Has gotten like softer. You almost have to go against that instinct to do that and not be hard on yourself for when it happens. And the less that I've cared, the less that I stutter.
Is your voice same bass, same octave, or did any of that change?
I think it gets higher because I get more stressed when I'm calm.
I mean from before the injury.
Yeah, it was higher.
It was higher.
So sorry. My voice was lower, but it after my injury, it was higher. My voice now is more close to how I was speaking then. But if I really think about it, I use a lot of breath support. It gets into this register, which is my usual register. But when I get excited or I get nervous or anything, it goes up into a higher thing, and then that's when it's, whatever. But that's almost anybody.
So do you mean then that when you're actually doing stand-up, because stand-up is just by definition, it's a selfish fucking thing. It's us talking at a crowd, to a crowd, not with. Is that more freeing for you then? Do you feel more comfortable in that hour there because you don't have to worry about what anybody else is going to fucking say? You're in 100% control.
That for me is something that I only realized later. It's like I have all this. You have this weird dynamic with an audience where it's like I need you, but I have so much resentment for you because outside of here, you would treat me this way.
The meet and greet ain't gonna be like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And you have to have. I've gotten this through just a lot of exploring and just meditating on it, but I've gotten a healthier relationship in my relationship with people now where it's like I feel like I want to be a service to them, where it's not where I've almost removed myself more from the selfish component and now seeing myself as like, how is it that I can give something to you? And even people who had been critical or my stand-up might not be for them, or they might question if my impediment is real. I still try to give the grace of that and be like, how is it that I can still offer a service? And that to me it feels like that's what grace is supposed to be. And so there's been almost a freer feeling in that I feel more levity in my stand-up lately. Even around comics, I used to get so, like if I would be in the room with Bill or with Eliza or anybody, if I was in the room with them, I almost couldn't even talk. Like I remember when I first met Bill, he came to do Flappers, and the manager had me sell his CDs with him, and he's like leaning on the counter. I'm stuttering so bad, and I'm trying to sell his CDs. And Bill, he goes, I can tell he's laughing because of the situation he's in. He's like, he's not saying anything. He's just going, and he goes, you don't have to do that. Like he just goes. I'll never forget it. I'm impressed. I mean, I'm impressed for how long he didn't say something because his body language was saying, I'm saying so many things in my head, despite leaning on the counter, that classic Bill leaning on the counter kind of thing. But I was so, that was humiliating, dude. Ryan, I cannot tell you, I'm meeting, this is the first time I'm meeting Bill Burr, and I'm selling his CD. I'm trying to sell his CDs, and he just goes in such a gracious way. He's like, you don't have to. You didn't even finish. You don't have to.
You don't have
just.
Oh, it's too good. That is too good. All right, so
yeah.
As a performer, that completely makes sense to me. I felt that when you were saying that, like, yeah, this is real freedom in this. All right, so can we talk about, like, just in life, like, when you realized, shit, this thing's not going away? Like, when you actually have to mentally accept that.
Yeah.
And then start learning a new pattern of speech and a new way of talking. Yeah. That's, like I said, that's a whole new ball game, which I'm sure there's some depression in there and also acceptance. And then, like you said, there's gratitude later, but that doesn't come unless you go through the shit.
Absolutely. All the stages of grief. Absolutely. And it sounds, whatever, lame or meta or I don't know, selfish, but it truly is. It was the stages of grief. And when you're going through it, sometimes you're not aware that that's what's happening. I would say almost most times you're not aware that that's what's happening. And I was 20 when that happened. So, I was 20 years old when the injury happened. And, it took me, I would say for a few years, it was taking me some time to really cope with the fact that this was probably my reality for the rest of my life. That was my new set of circumstances.
A couple years?
Yeah. I mean, because you have you when you get off stage from a set, when you get done, when you do a set and it goes well, you're like, I don't even care. I don't even whatever. If all this had to happen so I can feel this great feeling of being like, I'm expressing myself, people are commiserating with me about my circumstance. But then an hour later, when you're at home and you're by yourself and you're you're single, or you go to a restaurant and ordering's tough, or you're back in the shit of being a person in this situation, that superpower it's not as much now. You're like, you just feel, I'm so human now. I'm so flawed. And I would say, I talked about this when I did America's Got Talent. Compassion wasn't something that I wasn't like the most compassionate person with other people. I wasn't by any means like the worst person. Compassion was something that it took a backseat to a lot of my situations because I was just selfish, and I think I'm still selfish. But this speech issue really forced me to take a look at a lot of my other issues and realize that I'm human because I'm imperfect and whatever. So I forget what question I was answering there, but
you were answering
sorry.
The acknowledgement to yourself that, hey, this is the way it's going to be.
Yes,
now.
yeah, and so sorry, I lost track there, but I just mean like, for a few years it was me realizing that this was how it was going to be, and when I lost America's Got Talent, it was me and the last guy. And when I lost, I didn't realize until I lost, I was using that experience as a coping mechanism for what had happened to me. I was like, if I win this show, then it all will have made sense and I'll be fine. And we're always saying that to ourselves anyway in this business. If I get this, I'll be happy. If I get this. But that really was, I just didn't even realize it until afterwards. And I kept telling myself, it's fine. I'm just happy that I get to be doing this. And I'm glad that I get to keep advancing. But only way after the fact did I realize that I was using that as an experience to try and validate my injury.
Why do you think you did that? Were you not
as a
getting
way
enough?
Of,
was it also something that you thought could help your career too?
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I knew that it could, but if I knew that if I could if everything and all the shit that had happened and all the work that I put in, not just personally, but also professionally in embarking on now a stand-up pivot, it would at least make sense. It would at least be able to validate, okay, maybe in the ethers of the universe or the plan or the blueprint of my life makes sense now.
This had to happen so this could happen.
Yeah. And it didn't, and it's something that, again, only hindsight can give you the appreciation for.
Can I ask you this, though?
Yeah.
Do you really think winning would have?
No, it was a blessing. Yeah, it absolutely was a blessing. That would have delayed or belabored, me addressing maybe some issues, but they would have came up again at a different time. And also something that I think it taught me was, okay, everything's going to have to be up to me afterwards. And most people think that I built my audience from that show. Like, I was on it and it did well for me, and maybe people might know me from that, but I had to sustain and build. I built most of everything that I built after that show. It wasn't, from a number standpoint, from a sales standpoint, from anything. I built it all afterwards, which, you can attribute to, I think, me also just feeling like, all right, that's that lesson is like, you put all your eggs in the basket of just this experience, hoping that it's going to pay off for you, and then realizing that, it'll be up to you it's going to just be up to you to put things in your hands,
But also, even if you win that, it's the same.
Yeah,
it really is in the end.
It's true.
It's all in your hands after that.
Absolutely.
Anyway. This whole thing is.
Absolutely.
So what do you, can I ask you about speech patterns and things like that?
Yeah, ask me whatever.
What do you struggle with the most?
Words that start with the same letter back to back, and H's are pretty tough.
So alliteration, isn't that alliteration?
Yeah,
and
and
H's, you said?
H's, yeah. And incidentally, that's the thing that they have you work on the most in speech is truly like tongue twisters and like,
That's
really
Sally
figuring
Sells
out.
seashell shit.
Yeah. And then there's this easy onset, finding the resonant, there's resonant sounds that I'm always aware of in every word, because you're supposed to gravitate towards those words that, or at least the sounds within those words that are helpful for your speech that most people aren't even aware. In fact, I've done so much speech therapy, I can tell when someone else is not speaking correctly.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet.
And so, but I think I've gotten, it's like I said, like, the second time I meet you and the third time I meet you and when I see you around the scene, it's going to be, I know it's going to be better because I will have felt comfortable not just in us meeting, but in how vulnerable you let me be with you. I never talk this way with pretty much any comic or anybody. I would say I'm pretty introverted, but it's one of those things that like, around my wife, like it's so easy, and it's just, I've easily said words like edited before when I'm around her. Sometimes I can just nail that.
I can't fucking say that.
Yeah.
I throw in an extra ED and I'm like, edited. I can't. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. And so there's a clip out there that a few years ago went like stupid viral for whatever reason, where someone had me someone asked why I tried to say the word banana. And that one's always so tough for me because of the where the tongue.
Yeah.
And so that went like really, really viral. And so then a lot of people started showing up at my shows, and they would bring me little stuff, and like just it became like a thing. And so that's one of those things that, like I said, like the maturity, not that I'm referring to myself as mature, but the process of maturing past being like, okay, I am basically a clown for the purposes of you giggling.
We are.
For you laughing at how much this is actually painful for me during the day. But at the same time, you can appreciate that you can find and meet people who do have humor in that and are lighthearted enough to, and so then it became a thing that like a lot of people will shout that out, or they'll ask me to say it, or
do
whatever.
They come up to you after, and people who stutter or anything like that?
Many, yeah, or my stutter, or I get a lot of parents who are like, my son stutters, and you're this. Good. When I was after my injury, actually after I did America's Got Talent is when I started to really go to a lot of support groups where it's a lot of younger kids kids. And I go to Camp Say.
Are any of them from an injury like yourself?
A lot of adults,
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of adults, car accidents, adult onset
shake.
Adult onset stuttering is something that happens. Sometimes people have it from stroke. Sometimes people have it inexplicably. They just wake up and then that's just what happens. So, but I would say a lot of it is in adolescence, mostly boys, like 5 to 7. Sometimes it's girls, mostly boys. And I just, I look at my situation and comparing it to theirs, like they have to like find out who they are while they're growing up. And like there's these parents who they're crying and they're telling me, they're just like, I just don't know what to do, or I just, he comes home and he's crying every day, and it's just like, I don't consider myself to be like whatever stuttering ambassador, but I feel like it is somehow you're armed with this level of responsibility that goes beyond, I guess, just what it is that you do. And it's interesting because I've gotten so much. I built so much resentment for my speech because so many people will message me and be like, I miss when you did stutter, or I miss, and it's it's crazy because how could you say like you want to put a ceiling over my personal growth for your enjoyment? You know what I mean?
I miss when you had both your legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so do I, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So do I, you son of a bitch.
Exactly. So it's like, so it's just, it's one of those things that I think, you just try to take with a grain of salt, I guess.
Can you go on like a laced curse tirade and not cuss or stutter?
Yeah,
excuse me.
Yeah.
Like where do you
cursing is easy
without stuttering?
Yeah.
That's
that
like if you how many curse you ever tried to do a curse back to back to back to see
like
how many
fucking
you could rip?
Stupid shit, bitch, ass, tits, fuck, shit. I'm all out of.
Yeah.
That's all I know. Damn it, cunts.
What are your strengths
Dicks.
when it comes to the speech pattern? Curse
I
words,
think,
obviously.
Yeah, curse words are good. I think like, there's a melodic intonation technique, which is basically singing. So you hear about that. People who stutter, they don't when they sing.
Is that right? You don't?
Yeah.
So if you sang your instructions to your wife, you wouldn't?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be annoying as fuck having a musical in the house every day.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, no, I'll just stick with stuttering. It's better than the alternative.
That's interesting. I didn't know about the singing.
Yeah, so that's a technique. That's actually a very researched and I would say effective technique. Do
you ever fuck with it at home and try it?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched. I also started doing this when Steve Harvey had that interview where he was like, every single day I stand in the mirror, I give myself affirmations, I walk across the room while talking to myself out loud, and that has been something like you would never know. Steve Harvey, Ed Sheeran, Paul Rudd, like all these people, you have no idea that they did.
They did what?
Stuttered.
Oh, really? They all did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
and they were able to work around it?
Rehabilitate it in some way or another. And, I just think there is, I think, an inherent vicious cycle, which is the more you try to focus on not doing something, then you do. I mean,
sure.
But that principle applies to almost anything.
Yeah.
You say like, when I get home, I'm not going to eat like shit, and then you do that immediately. So anyway, but I feel like, and it's like even around comics, like I sometimes like when I watch you perform for the first time at the store, I thought I could never, and this is not just for you, this is almost for anybody, but I watch you perform in the Belly Room for the first time. I was like, oh man, he's so funny.
Thank you,
I would love, I was like, oh man, he's so funny. I would love to be able to walk over and say like, good set, and introduce myself, talk easily, just, and even though my stutter is like so much better, it's like, it's night and day from what it was. I feel just that social part, where you just you're stressing about what you hope not to happen, and I'm thinking a million things. I'm thinking, will it matter if I don't stutter? That's a thing now, like where I'm like, oh, I didn't stutter at all, and when people, or if I get through a full thing and people will go, hey man, you sound great right now. And then it's like, oh shit, now I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about it even though I sounded great. But I would say like I keep going back to this template, which is, I just care less and less, and I'm hoping that other people will also care less and less.
Well,
let me know if I'm boring the shit out of you with any of this,
dude,
because
please. Are you kidding me? I've got a million questions. I'm filling up.
Okay.
I met you at the Improv the other night, and like I said, your name has been on our board back there for a while because I've wanted to have you on. But there was no way I wasn't going to come up to you the other night. But listen, I'm the same way. I'm not I'll sit and talk to you if you come up and talk to me, but I'm probably not going to go over to you and have a heart-to-heart outside of a, hey, how you doing or whatever. I'm just not that person. I've never been that person.
Yeah.
Like, once you sort of crack the nut, I'll sit there and tell you everything, you know, that kind of shit.
Is that the way you are? Are you someone who you would identify yourself as an extrovert or an introvert?
It's funny you asked that.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I realized how extroverted I was because of what we do, and I missed being around. But I don't need to be. So I'm an introverted extrovert. Does that make any fucking sense?
Yes, it does.
That's what I realize I am. Like, I can go sit by myself and have dinner, but I like to be around the people. I'm comfortable going to a movie by myself, a concert, a sporting event. I'm comfortable being on stage in front of 300 fucking people, and not really outside of a meet and greet, like hanging out with them for hours on end or talking to them about that shit. I don't enjoy it.
Well, that's what I would say is I've noticed about you is that you're so even keeled. Like, you're the same right when you go on stage, right when you come off stage. It's the same, and that's to me also where I'm in my head about, like, oh man, like, he's got like a cool vibe. I probably don't want to bother him or whatever. And so you just you make assumptions about people, and none of it's negative, but sometimes it can be wrong. And learning so much about you today, like just talking before the podcast and now, and like, it's just I get a fuller picture of your vibe and the essence of the way that you are.
You like my essence?
I do.
What's up, bro?
I do.
Thank you.
I think it's sincere.
It is sincere. And the thing too we talk about with comedians all the time is it's like, unless we're on a show together, like the Improv or the Comedy Store or at a festival, we don't see each other. It's a solo sport. We're out there traveling. My producer Kirsten goes with me a lot, and I was like, "You'll see. We're going to see all." We've seen Mark Maron, Maz Jobrani, Eddie Bravo, and we see them all in the airport crossing paths with each other. I'm like, "There's another one. Where are you going?" Annie Letterman. I'm like, "She's coming back from here. We're going there." So it's also, these podcasts are a nice way to sit down and, not shitting on any other ones, but we're not movie reviewing or whatever. I'm getting to know who the fuck you are. I'm not asking you to come on here and be jokey and funny. Yeah, and I'm asking you to fucking tell me what's really going on.
And that's what I like. That's why I was so like, I was excited to learn about this podcast and the way it's ran. There's no pressure to feel like it's that, and I don't think that's me, to be honest. I think that, when I first met my wife, she told me she expected, like, because she had seen me perform before.
Did you meet her before or after you had the stutter?
After.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
So that my stutter was over a decade ago, and then I've been dating her for about 5 years.
Okay.
So she was just like you. She said to me, "You're so much deeper than I thought." Like, I just thought it would be, jokey all the time, when it's actually, I would say I'm 80% this all the time, and then maybe 20% is, and that's that. I
agree.
That's
I'm a 75-25.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to find humor in as many moments as I can, but I've never hung out with or could take the person that was on 24/7. Because also what you're not getting to do is know that real fucking person.
Right,
all we're doing is meeting this representative of you 24/7. Can we sit down and have a real fucking moment here about some shit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of comedians, again, this show, you would ask me why before we recorded it, we call it the HoneyDew, and I'll tell you, but this show has made me reappreciate comedians in such a different way, to listen to people like yourself and these people that come on and share these horrific fucking stories and yet still find light, laughter, levity in these moments. Like, that's what this show is. And the comedians are unlike most fucking people. Most people are like, how the fuck are you laughing at that? That's crazy. And I'm like, that's another way of dealing with shit. But the HoneyDew, and I say it a lot, but I'm having dinner at this diner one night. They bring my food and they bring that fucking fruit cup and I eat everything in it but the honeydew, right? I even ate the ugly red grapes. I like green grapes, but I ate the red one. And I don't have this, like, I didn't go into it with like honeydew's not something. I just don't fuck with it. It's like iceberg lettuce. You know what I mean? It's the fruit equivalent. And I get up and I leave and I see honeydew on the fucking tabletops everywhere. And I just thought to myself, oh, you know what? That sucks. That's a perfectly good fruit that just gets tossed aside. And then I realized that that's who I am in life. I've been this perfectly fine person. I might be iceberg lettuce to you, but somebody wants this on their sandwich.
That's brilliant.
And then I just wanted to start talking about, you know, and the other thing too is, Drew, everybody, we see these fucking, it's everybody's social media is their highlight reel. It's their ESPN. It's their, you know, here's the best moments of my life, but it's 30 fucking seconds at a time.
Yeah.
There's 24 hours in a day. You know what I mean? So I also wanted to talk about what's really going on behind all that shit on social media and what's really going on in your life between that minute clip of you in, you know, being ecstatic at the top of this mountain peak or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And thankfully people really enjoy it and like it. And you're going to get a lot of love. This is not in any way boring or too depressing or dark. Yeah. Believe me.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
It's super interesting because, again, I thought you were born with this and you learned how to be a performer and everything, which also is like you've had to overcome two things. Just being a comedian in itself and learning how to be a public speaker. I know I go back and listen to old shit of mine sometimes. I'm like, you sound like a fucking caveman. You know what I mean? Like, God. And I thought I was okay, you know? And then I hear myself in 10 years, I'll listen. I'm like, God, your podcast sucks, bro. So how is it with your wife?
She's great. We got married this summer, and she is a world champion in cross country skiing. And
Get the fuck out of here! A world champ for the U.S.?
No, for Bulgaria. But
no
she's been for Bulgaria and for U.S. Yeah, and she's training right now to qualify for the next cross country skiing Olympics.
What kind of training is that? Do you feel like shit next to her?
Oh yeah.
I mean, she's got to be in the best shape.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Cross country skiing. What does she burn calories? How many a day?
I have
like
no idea. I have no idea.
Shit?
She eats and it doesn't even matter.
I'll bet.
It pisses me off.
I'll bet.
Her dad was like number 2 or number 3 in the world for skiing in Bulgaria at one point. So yeah, it's
cross country. You don't have to get out a gun and shoot and all that
that's
stuff.
Biathlon. That's biathlon. Yeah. But she's out there in Vermont right now, and a lot of her friends are biathletes and like world champion, like and Olympic medalists in that, and it's pretty insane. But she's just genetically, she just has like, and also she works incredibly hard, but I just mean genetically, she's just one of those metabolisms that like she, you know, pasta 3 times a day, like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
How old is she?
She's 26.
I mean, that helps too.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, even still, like,
how did you guys meet? How do you meet a world-class skier?
Yeah, champion, I did a show in Vermont, and then after the show, I went to the bar, and there she ordered an IPA. And I was drinking IPAs at the time, and I thought that was like really, really cool. And then we hung out and we chatted for like, I don't know, 5 hours, 6 hours that night. So kind of like a classic sort of like met at a bar kind of a thing. But
can I ask you a question? Did you write your own vows?
We actually agreed to not do vows.
Okay.
I did end up doing like, not a speech, but it's just, you know, when we got married 2 days before, we technically got married 2 days before our reception or ceremony where everyone came to. Mm-hmm. We legally got married. We climbed the tallest mountain in Vermont, and then we were lost. We got lost on the mountain for probably an hour and a half or so, and I was so mad at her. I was so like, we're lost. Like
on your wedding
on
day.
Our wedding day. She's got the gown thing. She's hiking. Yeah, she's got the gown. She's got the fucking veil thing. I've got a shirt that looks like a tuxedo.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just kept seeing it. I was like, we're going to be in the paper. We're going, and it's going to be like this. They're going to find our bodies, and it's going to be like this. We have no reception wherever we are. We had to rappel at one point. We had to go through
on your wedding day. How many people have rappelled on their wedding day?
It's crazy, man. I was so mad at her. I was so mad at her. And then we did the ceremony at the top. I was so mad. I still said I do. I still said it, dude. I couldn't believe it. No, it was the two of us. We had our parents, or my parents, her parents, my grandparents, her best friend and her boyfriend, and then the guy who married us. And
at the Donner party out there.
Yeah. It was crazy. But they drove up to where it was. They drove up, but it was just the two. It was just the two of us and the camera guy. We had a camera guy, and I couldn't not see the headline in my head. I was so mad at her, and she just kept saying like, no, we're 7 minutes away. We're 7 minutes away, and that went on for a good 50 minutes, an hour or so, and then we finally made it to the top. And then 2 days later, when we were at the ceremony, I just kind of revisited that and was just like, talking about, just that kind of experience. And it was a cool thing. Well, our wedding, we didn't anything that you would normally do traditionally in a wedding. Mm-hmm. We put it like on its ears. So like we had like a flower wall, but like there were like dildos in it and stuff like that. And we did, we did like a scavenger hunt. We hired a choreographer so we could rehearse like a really cool dance with like a medley of songs, like hip hop like stuff. So we hired a choreographer for a few months and did that before that nobody knew about. And we had a dunk tank at our wedding.
A dunk tank?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I just taught my daughter about dunk tanks.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Ocean City, Maryland. I'm like, back in the day, there used to be a guy dressed like a clown, and he would say the most offensive, horrific shit, and you would try to dunk him. And if you didn't, it got worse. And then that motherfucker had to run for his life when his shift was over.
That is the funniest shit.
I've showed her them online. I'm like, they got that, got that gravelly voice. Like, you got a pussy arm, son. That shit. Yeah. I'm like, here's these guys, Stella. Here they are.
Yeah, man. That is so good. Oh, God. You have to make that a joke, Ryan.
You
That's
remember
so
those
funny.
people?
Yeah.
That was a job for a while.
Yeah.
You get up and be racist and shit, sexist. They would just yell anything out there. Yep. And it's just like, I guess he's okay because he's sitting on a board over water.
Yeah, and he's in paint.
He's in paint.
He's in a board over water.
I guess it's okay that he's racist because I can dunk him. I can get him wet. That's
You can't cancel someone if they're wet.
That's it. You can say whatever you want to, motherfucker, but you better get wet after that. That's the news. Somebody throw a bucket on me. Hurry up. I just said the N-word.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, shit.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh, dude. Okay. We're about that time.
Okay.
But before we wrap up, I gave you a heads up before. I want to ask you now.
All right.
Because it's interesting, because the age that this happens and everything. I'm curious what advice you would give to 16-year-old Drew.
It doesn't go according to plan. I know that that's a cliche, probably for a reason.
No one has said that.
Really?
I don't think one person said that.
Yeah, it doesn't go according to plan. So
someone's gonna fucking
okay
edit 9 people saying that together, right? Like, Ryan, you're an asshole.
Yeah. But no, it doesn't go according to plan. I know that's right on the nose for me, but I'm a perfectionist, someone who also I deeply struggle with imposter syndrome as well. So it just being okay with it, not, like kind of like we talked about during this podcast, just like, there is beauty in something that is imperfect and there is perfection in something that's not. So that's kind of what I would say. Yeah.
Dude, that's great. This was a great episode. Thank you. I really do appreciate you coming on and talking about it. I'm sure it's not easy, and I didn't know people doubted shit. Like, it's if it's not enough already, you got to deal with that bullshit, whispers and all that nonsense. Yeah. Well, you know what? Just fucking stutter your ass all the way to the motherfucking bank. Fuck them. For real. Give them the finger with, you can say fuck without any problem.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
That's what you should be doing.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's been getting like so much better that I also, and my relationship with it has also been like, I want to make sure that I am funny despite it, or like that it has nothing to do with it. You know
Let
what
me
I'm
ask you
saying?
this before we go.
Yeah.
If if you wake up one day and you don't have the stutter anymore, how will you feel about that?
I think it's becoming more and more my reality every day. It's becoming more and more like, I just don't care. The more separation I get from it, the more I let it go. And it's just less and less. And I'm okay with it. If the challenge then becomes, oh no, people might have known me because of this, or will he be able to still make jokes, whatever, I don't care. Like, I've just suffered too much personally with it and my relationship with it that I can't have that relationship. It's unhealthy to constantly obsess about how will I. So
if there was a surgery right now that was like, hey, it's guaranteed 100%, would you do it?
No.
All right.
No, it's all about what's happening right now. And honestly, there's more, I hate the word honor, but I feel like the word value, there's more value in being able to be like, no, you know what? I did this. This is my journey. And here, you can mark it, you can document it.
Good for you, dude.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for coming on for real.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me talk this, man. It's therapeutic to be able to like share stuff like that.
Oh, it's nice of you to say. Please plug everything again, all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm doing San Jose Improv. That's where I'm taping. It's January 20th, 21st, and 22nd. And then I'm doing Austin, Texas the week after that. You can just go to my website, drewlynch.com to look at any of my tour dates. But it's mostly just the taping, and I appreciate that.
Drew Lynch on all social media.
Drew Lynch, yeah.
Brother, thank you so much for coming on. For real,
buddy.
This was a pleasure.
No.
And as always, Ryan Sickler on all social media, ryansickler.com. We'll talk to y'all next week.